And as you know, this book, Man's Search for the Meaning by Viktor Frankl, um, it's about a Nazi concentration camp and what he goes through, and that gets the author to think. And this is kind of a personal testimonial. So we will now go through the first chapter. So, in this first chapter, the author describes the psychological journey of concentration camp prisoner. He identifies three basic phases that the prisoners go through. First phase, he says it's shocking. Okay, it's shock. This is the initial phase when the prisoners are overwhelmed by the brutality and the chaos of the camp. They may experience feelings of disbelief, numbness, and detachment. Okay, so that means they kind of lost hope. Okay, and that's this shock. And the second is apathy. That means after the initial shock wears off, the prisoners may enter a phase of apathy. They may become indifferent to their surroundings and to the sufferings of others. Okay, that is the second phase he saw. Talks about that means taken aback, getting the shock, and then you are kind of it doesn't matter, you become callous, kind of apathy. And the third phase is depersonalization. In the final in this phase, he says that the prisoners may experience a sense of depersonalization. They may feel like they are no longer themselves, but rather just number or a cog in the machine. Okay, and author argues that these three phases are inevitable and the prisoners can find ways to resist them. He suggests that one way to do this is to find meaning in their suffering. Okay, so that means as you evolve or as you think of ways to resist these, one way is to find meaning, okay, in the suffering. And that's what got him to write this book, or what his thoughts were. And that's what we read in this book. And this meaning can come from a variety of sources, such as love, hope, or a sense of purpose. And Fra- Frank himself found meaning in his suffering by focusing on his wife and family, and by imagining the day when he would be reunited with his family. He also found meaning in his work as a doctor, helping other prisoners to cope with their sufferings. And that is all one of the reasons why they kept him. Okay, and instead of killing him, was because he was a doctor. So they spared and they kept those people, or the Nazis kept those people who had some kind of a skill set, so that they can add value. And into sorry Frank's insights into the psychological journey of a concentration camp prisoner are still relevant today. They can help us to understand the impact of trauma and suffering, and to find ways to find meaning in our own lives. So he says that the search for meaning is the primary motivation in human life. Okay, why are we here? Okay, so that is the search of the human life should be. I mean, most of the time, I mean, since time immemorial, if you see, human beings are always in the coast. Why are we sent to this world? And one will be, we are born and will be gone one day. So why is the um, answer a lot of people they look for. Even in the most difficult circumstances, he says that it is possible to find a meaning. And he says that the way we respond to suffering is ultimately up to us. Okay, so that means you may be resentful, you may be, not reacting to a good way, or you can react to the suffering. It's all entirely up to you and me. So that means he said that, okay, when you tackle the suffering with good kind of thoughts, then the feelings are good. If you suffering, you go through with a sense of, you know kind of suffering, that means you make yourself miserable, so you will be miserable. And the last thing he says that we can find meaning in our suffering by focusing on our loved ones, our work, and our faith. Okay, so hope it made sense to you guys. That was kind of a summary of chapter 1. So we'll proceed to the chapter 2 tomorrow. So we will conclude really early today, but we're expecting to catch up with you soon with our